Hey there, and welcome to this course, ChatGPT for Financial Advisors. Before we get into the course, I just want to take 60 seconds to talk about my company, BMO Automation. Here at BMO Automation, we help independent financial advisors integrate AI technologies into their existing tech stack and workflows, helping you automate those middle and back office tasks so that you can spend more time on high value tasks. And this course is about how you can use ChatGPT yourself through their website. But what we do is we build custom software on top of ChatGPT that integrates into your tech stack. So as you're progressing through this course and learning how to use ChatGPT yourself, I would encourage you to think about potentially how much more powerful it could be if it is integrated with your CRM, your financial planning software, etc. And if you are interested in investing in building that kind of technology for your firm and your practice, I'll put my email and a link to our website in the description. With that out of the way, let's get into the course. Hello, and welcome to this quick course, ChatGPT for Financial Advisors. My name is Ben Olson. I am the founder and CEO of BMO Automation. I used to work as a financial advisor and I pivoted into tech and became an AI engineer and now AI consultant. So I am super excited to discuss how you can use ChatGPT as a financial advisor. So, just a quick overview of this crash course. I'm going to spend a couple minutes just briefly talking about what ChatGPT is and why you should use it as a financial advisor. I'll cover some basic techniques for effective prompting, and then I'll get into some really cool use cases and show you exactly how you can use ChatGPT on a daily basis to automate some of your middle and back office tasks. And then lastly, I'll briefly touch on personalization and how you can kind of customize ChatGPT to be more aware of who you are and what your goals are so you can have more personalized conversations with it. So, just a super high level overview. What is ChatGPT? I like to think of it as a revolutionary chatbot that has knowledge of the entire internet. So, just about anything that you can Google and find on the internet is likely in ChatGPT's knowledge base. So, it is incredibly knowledgeable. It also excels at generating text. This is what really differentiates it from what we historically think of as chatbots. And the technology behind this is what is really considered so revolutionary in this field, in that it can create answers and write responses to you completely from scratch based on your previous messages and conversations with it, which allows you to do some super powerful things, which I will show. And it can also do some really cool things like search the internet for you, scan documents, and much more, which I will also get into. So, why might you use ChatGPT as a financial advisor? Simply, it's going to help you automate a lot of your back office workflows and tasks, which in turn will enable you to spend more time on high value tasks and spend more time with your clients. I also think it's going to allow you to stay on top of a changing tech environment. There are a lot of very smart business leaders out there who were around for the creation and evolution of the internet. Many of them are saying that AI technologies like ChatGPT are going to have just as big of, or if not a bigger impact on the world than the internet did. So I think by using it on a regular basis, you're staying ahead of the curve and you're not going to put yourself in a position where your competition is operating much more efficiently than you and you are trying to play catch up. And lastly, I do just want to mention it's not going to replace your job. I know a lot of people are kind of talking about this and worried about this. I think, especially for financial advisors, we all know how important that human element is in this relationship oriented business. So it's not going to replace your job, but what it will do is it will allow you as an advisor to work much more efficiently, spend more time on those high value tasks, and maybe even expand your practice and bring on new clients because of that. So, without further ado, I want to get into prompting. So, prompting is essentially how you type your messages to ChatGPT. And the way that you type your messages to ChatGPT is directly correlated with how good its responses are. So, I encourage you to I like to think of it this way. Think of ChatGPT as like a recent college grad. It's very smart, has a bunch of knowledge, right? Like a college grad just graduated from school. They have all these skills and all this knowledge. But if they're joining your practice as their very first job, you're probably going to have to over explain to them what to do, right? Like they're skilled and they're ready, but they might need a little bit of over explanation in what you want them to do for you. And I like to think of ChatGPT in a very similar manner. It can do incredible things, but it just needs a robust explanation from you as to what it should do. And in order to create that robust explanation, there are some things you can do. You can provide it with user personas and lots of context. So instead of just saying, hey, help me draft an email to a client, you'll want to say something like, I am a financial advisor. I am writing an email to this client. You are my assistant who is very good at writing emails. That will result in a much better response than just saying, write this email. You're going to want to do some other things like breaking tasks into steps when you prompt it. It'll be able to execute the steps much better. You can also tell it to constrain outputs. You could say keep this short and concise, or you could say output this in a format, in a properly formatted email, for example, so that I can copy and paste it directly into my inbox. It always helps to use examples. This isn't always possible, but in the case that you are asking it to do something and you have an example of what you want the output to look like, its output will be significantly better if you provide examples. And lastly, you're going to want to iterate. If you say, hey, help me draft an email to a client, and it writes the email, and you're like, yeah, I like that, but it's not a friendly enough tone, just simply reply and say, hey, that's great, but can you please rewrite that in a friendly tone? And it'll do that in a matter of seconds. So these are super high level kind of basic steps. I would really encourage you, if you're into prompting and you want to learn more, just learn on YouTube. Go on YouTube and look up prompting techniques. There's tons of videos out there that go way more in depth, but these are kind of the basics. So I'm going to show a real quick example of what a good prompt might look like. All right, so for a super quick example on prompting, let's say your client emails you and says, I am wondering what the difference between a traditional and a Roth IRA are, and you want to use ChatGPT to help you draft an email reply. A bad prompt, you might just say to ChatGPT, explain the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA. A good prompt might look something more like this. I am a financial advisor, and my client asked me what the differences between a Roth and a traditional IRA are. You are my assistant that helps draft informative and concise emails with a friendly tone. Please write an email I can send to them. They have minimal financial acumen, so they need to understand the differences with minimal financial jargon. Keep the email short and concise and appropriately formatted as a professional email. Do not use bullet points. So again, thinking more about like that college student example, if you had like an entry level employee and you wanted them to write their first ever email to one of your clients, this is probably more along the lines of how you would explain it. So I am going to pull up ChatGPT and just show you guys what the differences between these two prompts would look like. So I am going to drop this right here. And what you'll see is that it's going to give us a very robust description of the differences between a Roth and a traditional IRA. It's going to have a ton of information. Everything's kind of like bullet pointed, so it's easy to like read on the screen right now. And this is probably not something that you would want to just copy and paste and email to your client. Alternatively, if we use this prompt, let's see what it does. So it automatically is going to provide you with a subject. It's formatting it like an email. It's saying, hi, client name. I hope this finds you well. And then it's going to explain this is what a traditional is. This is what a Roth is. It's going to use very simple terms. And yeah, it's going to include kind of this stuff at the bottom. So again, you can see just by changing the way we spoke to it, we get this response that's a much better thing that we can then go and start to work with, or just copy and paste and directly email to the client. So yeah, quick example on prompt. All right, so now the fun part. What are some use cases on how you can use ChatGPT as a financial advisor every day? So I've compiled a list here and I'll go through some demos. This is by no means an exhaustive list. It is just a list of some use cases that I have advised or seen financial advisors use themselves in the past. So the first is drafting client communications. Next, we have summarizing meetings. That could be to generate follow up emails or generate lists of tasks or next steps. Scanning and summarizing documents. You can use it to summarize lengthy documents or pull particular data points out of documents. You could use ChatGPT to do market news and research instead of reading a bunch of different articles about current topics. You can just have it do that for you. You can use it for data analysis, generating sales and marketing materials, and lastly, to create materials for client education and many more. So let's start with this first one, drafting client communications. So I have ChatGPT open here, and I have an example question that an advisor might get from a client that they would want some assistance in answering. So this client said, I saw a recent news story that Congress might be cracking down on some estate planning strategies like grants, but that are supposed to be really good for people in my situation, but I don't know what those are. Can you explain how they work and whether this is something I should be considering? So using our prompt that we went over before, I'm just going to kind of insert that right above this and say kind of what we wrote before. I'm a financial advisor, and my client asked me the following question. You are my assistant that helps draft informative and concise emails in a friendly tone. They have minimal financial acumen, so do not use complex financial terms, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to clearly label here is the question from the client. And then I'm going to go ahead and send that. And you can see that instantly it will start drafting this email. It's going to give us a subject. And what it's going to do is provide a really nice overview of what a GRAT is. And it's going to explain it in relatively simple terms, just how we asked it. And it kind of finishes off here by saying, like, given your situation, I think we should hop on a call and further discuss what the implications of some of these things might be. So you can imagine how, maybe doing the research to kind of refresh yourself on what this is, writing a summary email in simple terms, and then, suggesting to hop on a call. That might take you some time. And in this case, we were able to do it in a matter of seconds. So that is an example for drafting client communications. All right, next up, we have summarizing meetings. This is an absolute huge time saver, and I love seeing financial advisors implement this one. If you're not getting transcripts of your meetings and recording them currently, I would highly encourage you to explore doing that. Please feel free to reach out to me if you want any suggestions on which products to maybe use. But without further ado, let's just pretend we have a transcript from a meeting that we had with a client, and we're going to ask ChatGPT to do some things to it. So I have this fake transcript that I actually had ChatGPT itself generate. And I read through it. I won't go through the whole thing right now, but it is a very realistic transcript for what a meeting between an advisor and a client might look like. So let's say we have all this information here. I'm going to go ahead and add this prompt to the top of it. And what I'm going to say is, below is a transcript for a conversation I had with a client. I am a financial advisor. I need you to generate a list of next steps and action items for both me and the client. Please reply first with the listed action items. Next, reply with a draft email I can send to the client that includes a summary of the conversation. So we'll go ahead and send that. And instantly we start to get this this detailed list of action items. So again, it's extracting through this conversation what it believes action items are. It was never explicitly said in the conversation, this is an action item or I'll do that, but it's kind of just reasoning about what they are. So, it has things like prepare a detailed proposal, update their retirement plan to reflect increased monthly contributions, reached out to an estate attorney, run some new projections, so on and so forth. And then it has the next steps for the client, because they had some next steps discussed as well. And then here is the email. So this is a really nice summary of the email, or a nice email summary of the conversation that they had. So yeah, this looks like it's pretty much ready to be kind of copied and pasted. One thing we can do is these next steps that were for the client don't seem to be included in the email. So I'm just going to say like that email looks great, but please include the next steps for the client in the email as well. So I might go take those next steps for me and start plugging them into my CRM or whatever software, so that I can, get these things done in a timely manner. And then I'd be able to fire this email out to the client with this nice summary and this list of next steps for the client. So you can imagine how, listening back to a recording of a meeting or reading through it and doing all this would take much more time. Much quicker with ChatGPT. So yeah, great example here for summarizing meetings. All right, so next up is scanning and summarizing documents. And I just want to say before we get into this, I want to address some kind of considerations and potential concerns that people might have as it relates to kind of data security and compliance considerations when you're working with ChatGPT. So I'll start by saying ChatGPT is SOC 2 certified. They have all sorts of those certifications that all the other technologies that you likely use as an advisor have as well, whether it be financial planning software, CRMs, etc. ChatGPT is backed by a very large company called OpenAI, which is very well run, established company. So from a data security perspective, I don't think there is any reason at all to be concerned that any conversations or data that you're putting into ChatGPT is going to be compromised or taken and used in some kind of bad, harmful way. With that being said, there are a lot of companies, not just in wealth management, but in general out there, who are kind of prohibiting their employees from uploading company information or client information and things like that into ChatGPT. And the reason that there's kind of this concern out there is because OpenAI will save your conversations with ChatGPT into their own database. And the reason that they do this, they say, is so that they can use that information about how people are talking with it to actually improve its performance, and make it better over time. So this is something that, if you are concerned about, OpenAI does offer an enterprise plan where you are able to opt out of them storing your data. So you can just interact with ChatGPT and they will never save anything that you are doing. So check out that enterprise plan. But I just wanted to mention this because there kind of is real no like black and white. Here is exactly what you can, compliantly do with ChatGPT as a financial advisor, and here is what you cannot. I do expect over time there will be kind of regulatory and compliance things that come out, and provide more guidance on this topic. But all this to say, like, I hope you guys use these use cases that I demonstrate, and practice them within your own business. But by no means do not take this video as kind of a green light that you can do anything with ChatGPT, put any information in it, and not have to ever worry about it. I would encourage you all, if this is something you're concerned about, to do further research on it. If you work with compliance people, absolutely talk to them and get their opinions about it. So yeah, with that being said, let's get back into the demos. All right, so scanning and summarizing documents is one of my favorite use cases. It's super powerful, and I use this myself all the time. So essentially, what you can do is upload really any sort of document into ChatGPT, and it will scan that document, understand everything that's inside of it, and then you can ask it questions or ask it to do things with that information. So there's kind of three main ways that I think you can use this. The first is to extract certain pieces of data out of a document. So if you're looking to pull information from a lengthy document and you don't want to go in and manually find it and kind of copy and paste it, you can do that. You can also have it summarize documents, just simply explaining to you what is in them. And then lastly, I also like to use it to kind of navigate lengthy documents. So let's say you have like a life insurance policy or like estate planning documentation that's like hundreds of pages long, you can actually upload that to ChatGPT and say, I'm looking for XYZ. Where can that be found in the document? And it'll say, here's a summary of what you're asking about, and you can find that on page 126 or something like that. So I'm going to jump into a demo here. So I have this like sample fidelity statement. I got this from their website. This is not a real person. It's just kind of a sample of what someone's statement would look like if they're a client of Fidelity. I believe they have like a debit card, a brokerage account, maybe like a savings account, and a few other things. So I'm going to go ahead and just like kind of drop this into ChatGPT, and I'm going to say like, please summarize the contents of this document and tell me what types of accounts this person has with Fidelity. So it's going to begin by kind of parsing and analyzing that document, and then it should give us our answer. Yeah, here it is. So it's kind of giving us a nice summary. It's letting us know that there is a standard individual brokerage account. There is a traditional IRA. There is a 529. It's kind of giving us a lot here. It's giving us holdings, activity, so on and so forth. So another thing that I'm going to do, and I used to do this all the time when I was a financial advisor, is I'm going to show you how you can use it to extract certain data. So I'm going to say for the, let's just go with the retirement account. So for the traditional IRA, please provide me with a list of holdings in the account. I need the ticker symbol, the quantity of shares, and also the cost basis. So let's go ahead and let it do that. And this is something I know I used to do myself manually when you're, maybe onboarding a new client and you need to get all their information plugged into another piece of software. So here we have it. It gives us all of the tickers, the quantity, the cost basis, and let's just kind of jump in and make sure it looks right here. So first up, let's find this traditional IRA. So we're looking for the account 22222. Okay, so here it is. We have account 22222, and the list of holdings is right here. So we can see first and foremost, this person has cash, which is ticker symbol FDRXX, and they have 2070.88. And you can see that it listed that first here, FDRXX 2070.88. There's obviously no cost basis because this is cash, so it left that blank. Next up, we have Apple. They have 30 shares, which you can see right here, AAPL 30. And the cost basis over here for Apple is $8,247.50. It got that as well, $8,247.50. So it's always a good idea to double check. These can make mistakes in their responses in doing this. But they're getting better over time. But it's always a good idea to double check. And another thing you can do here, since it gave us this in kind of a tabular format, is we can actually go ahead and just download this. And it's going to give it to us as a CSV. So if that helps us in some way to get this data extracted as a CSV, we now have that here. So yeah, really cool use case for pulling and extracting data in a formatted way out of a document. And yeah, this one is very useful. Another example to demonstrate how ChatGPT can work with these documents in more of a qualitative way is with this sample life insurance policy that I have. So this is kind of just a generic set of terms and conditions for a life insurance policy that perhaps a client might have. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that over. And rather than reading through the document, we can simply just ask questions about it. So I'm just going to say, for example, like, when are the premium payments due? And it's going to go ahead and answer that question based on the information within the document. And one thing that when you're working with large documents like this that you can do is say, instead of just saying when are the premium payments due, I'm also going to say, please indicate which page you find the answer to this question on, so that I can actually go back in and check the document myself just to make sure that it is correct. So it's going to go ahead and give us that answer again. And it mentions that these details are found on page 11. So you can imagine, if you're dealing with like a super large document, how useful this could be to help you navigate through it in order to answer specific questions. So I'm going to jump down here to page 11. Yep, and here it is, paying your premiums when your premiums must be paid. So yeah, very useful. And that is just another example. So that concludes the examples for analyzing documents. All right, so next up, I want to talk about how to use ChatGPT for market news and research. And something that's important to call out here is that ChatGPT does have what's known as a knowledge cutoff. So when I was mentioning how ChatGPT has essentially the knowledge of the entire internet, that is true, but only up until a certain point, which is December 2023. So given that that was about 6 months ago, ChatGPT technically does not have in its knowledge that it was trained on current information. But what it can do is it can actually browse the web and read articles and look for things online to answer your question if it feels like it needs to do that. So if you are to ask it a question about something, some sort of current event, it will flip on that feature and actually start browsing the internet in order to answer your question. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into a demo of that. So today is June 12th, and there was a Fed meeting today. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask it, what was the interest rate decision from the Fed that came out today? And it's obviously going to need to browse the web for this. And there it does. You can see what it actually searched: Fed interest rate decision June 12th. It read these 5 articles, and then here it has a nice summary for us, mentioning that the Fed decided to keep rates unchanged. And it actually gives us the ability to then click on all of these articles that it read to answer that question, so that we can see where it was getting its information from. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask it another question, like, what impact did this decision have on the markets today? It's going to run another search, and then it's going to give us a summary here. It generally had a positive impact on the markets. S&P 500 was up, and it's again linking us all of these different articles here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of ask it a completely other random question, like, what were some top performing sectors this past quarter? So now it's gonna have to run a separate search. And yeah, here we have some answers: IT, communication, energy, financials. And again, it's kind of linking all of these articles that it read in order to answer these questions. So this is a super powerful tool if you find yourself like me wanting to run a Google search to kind of figure out, what's going on in the markets today, or if you hear about something, a news event that you want to research. This is just a much quicker way to do that. So yeah, that is market research and using ChatGPT to browse the internet. All right, so next I want to talk about data analysis, which is a super powerful feature of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can crunch a bunch of numbers for you. It can perform really complex calculations, and it can also create data visualizations. And the way that it does this is kind of similar to the way it's able to read and parse documents. Is it actually runs some code under the hood to perform these calculations while you're conversating with it. And the reason that this is important and why this somewhat new feature was pretty revolutionary is that you could imagine if you were just talking to a person and you said, what's the rate of return if a portfolio had X value at the beginning of the year, Y value at the end of the year, they probably wouldn't be able to do that mental math in their head and be able to just speak and give you the result. And that's kind of how ChatGPT used to be. But the fact that it can now write code under the hood is basically like in that example, giving that person a calculator, right? So no longer can it just speak, but it can execute code. And it kind of, in the case of data analysis, has this little calculator that it can use. And it uses its language abilities to understand your questions and describe data. But under the hood, it's programmatically working with the data so that we know the numbers are accurate. So I'm going to jump into an example here. So I have this little CSV of like fake portfolio data. So it has like 10 years of just fake data that I made. It has the beginning balance, the contributions, withdrawals, market appreciation, and ending balance for a hypothetical portfolio. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here, and I'm just going to ask it like a super open-ended question and see what it comes up with. I'm going to say, please provide some insights about the performance of this investment portfolio. And we can see what, as I was saying, it's executing some code, and now that it really understands these numbers, it's able to talk about them. So it's kind of starts by describing the data. Here are some insights. It said the market appreciation varied year by year. It was positive in most years except for 2016. There was a market decline of 3%, so on and so forth. Impact of contributions and withdrawals. It even chose to create some visualizations for us here. Some pretty cool stuff. So there's just really a ton of information here. So when you give it these like open-ended prompts, like please provide some insights, it will really give us a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and just like ask some more specific questions. I'm going to say, can you explain the can you explain for the client the impact of increasing the yearly contributions to 12,000 instead of 10,000. So in this fake data, the yearly contribution to the portfolio is just 10,000 every single year, and we want to see how it can answer this question of what would happen if we increased it. So, it's kind of explaining and it's saying, let's start with the calculations. And here it goes. So here it's spitting out all of the numbers of what the projected ending balance would be with the increased contribution. So you can see side by side here what the ending balance actually was with the 10,000 and what it would have been with the 12,000 year contributions. And here it kind of is just explaining all of that in text. And then it says, by 2024, the final balance would be this instead of this. This is a significant increase of $22,000. The additional 2,000 a year leverages the compounding effect, so on and so forth. And then lastly, I'm just going to say, please create a visual chart that demonstrates the difference. And then here it should create like a nice chart for us that can show the difference. Yeah, so here it is, projected ending balance with the regular contributions and with the increased contributions. And there's all sorts of things. We can actually download this as well too. It'll save it as an image for you. And I can also just say some cool things like, can you add value labels so it's more clear? And now it'll just like give us the same chart again, and it should hopefully kind of add the value labels to look more readable. It did not. So I'm going to go ahead and try. Oh, yeah, it added them. You just have to mouse over. So here, yeah, it has the labels. You just kind of have to mouse over. So you can keep playing around with this. You can get a visual exactly how you would want. So, yeah, this is a really cool feature. Anytime you need to crunch some numbers, create some visualizations, etc., this is a really cool, really powerful feature. I would encourage you to kind of play around with this. I don't really know where the end of the capabilities are with this. This is a super simple example, and I'm always playing around with this myself. So, yeah, that is data analysis. All right, so at this point, I hope I've done enough kind of hands-on demos to hopefully empower you guys to maybe think about how you would do the next ones, generating sales and marketing materials or client education on your own. So I'm not going to do like hands-on demos for these, but I have seen people do some really cool things with generating sales and marketing materials, like using ChatGPT to write personalized outreach in terms of like prospecting people, for like those LinkedIn messages, cold emails, things like that. Coming up with ideas for maybe social media, like if you run an Instagram page for your business, coming up with ideas for different posts, different captions, and things like that. Maybe coming up with really good copy for like an advertisement or something like that you're running. And then also client education. We kind of touched on that, just using ChatGPT to kind of distill complex things that they might not understand into something that is more digestible for them. Whether that be questions they have about specific things, whether that be current events or things that are in the news. Maybe you make a newsletter that kind of breaks down all these complex things in the news and makes it simple and fun for clients to read through ChatGPT. Yeah, lots of possibilities. But yeah, want to jump into the next section. So this concludes use cases, and now we will talk about personalizing ChatGPT. All right, so next up, I want to talk about how you can personalize ChatGPT. And basically, what this means is how can you get ChatGPT to kind of just understand a little bit more about who you are, how you prefer for it to respond, and things like that, so you're not repeating yourself. You can think about how if you every single time you spoke with it, you had to say, I am a financial advisor, that gets a little bit repetitive, right? So you want to have ChatGPT learn some things about you to save you time so that when you start talking with it, it is already aware of who you are and kind of what your goals are. And there's three different ways you can do this. The first is called memory. And this is actually a feature that OpenAI released recently. And it is built in and happening automatically when you talk to ChatGPT. So when you create an account rather and start talking to ChatGPT, it will kind of decide when you say certain things. It will determine that is something that I am going to remember about Ben. Like that seems important, and I'm going to add that to my memory about him. And it will actually show you on the interface while you're talking to it that something you said was added to memory. So you can be aware that that's something it's remembering, and then you can go in and maybe like delete or modify that. So I'm going to show you guys like a quick little example. I'm just going to say something random. Well, not random. This is true, but I live in Chicago with my Bernedoodle named Gallagher. And when I said that, you can see right here, it says memory updated. And then it added lives in Chicago with their Bernedoodle named Gallagher. So ChatGPT kind of thought under the hood, this seems like something I should probably remember about Ben and use when I'm talking to him in the future. So it automatically added that. So anytime you see this memory updated, that's what it's doing. And you can actually come over here, manage memories, and you can come in here and delete these, or you can clear them out. And this is also a feature that you can turn off if you'd like. So this one is kind of very useful, and because it kind of just happens in the background. So if you're consistently saying, I'm a financial advisor, help me write an email, after a few repetitions of that, it should start to just remember that. The next one that we have is custom instructions. So if you navigate over here and you go to settings and you go to personalization, you will see that this is, again, where you can kind of turn memory on and off, or you can actually add custom instructions. So this is where you would write things like here it says, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? Get some examples here. Where are you based? What do you do for work? What are your hobbies and interests? So as an advisor, this is probably where I would write, I am a financial advisor. I am using you to streamline tasks and help me operate my practice more efficiently. so on and so forth. And then down here, you will see how would you like ChatGPT to respond. So this is where you can kind of play around with, you could tell it, if you are talking to me, please be as robust and detailed as possible. If I'm asking you to generate something for my client, please be, informative and use simple terms, so on and so forth. So yeah, these are very useful as well. I would encourage you guys to fill these out, custom instructions. So yeah, that's memory and custom instructions, very simple. Next, we will jump into custom GPTs, which is a lot more complex, but more powerful. All right, so custom GPTs are kind of just like memory or custom instructions, like on steroids. So basically, building a custom GPT, as it's called, is like building your own little version of ChatGPT that is kind of trained to do specific things for you. And that is kind of its job, is to do those specific things. So it's kind of a lot easier to show through demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and open up ChatGPT. And if you come over here, you can see my GPTs and then create a GPT. And ChatGPT is OpenAI in general is very good at kind of walking you through building these. So it's quite simple. So you'll see here, hi, I'll help you build a new GPT. You can say something like, make a creative who helps generate visuals for new products, or make a software engineer who helps format my code. What would you like to make? So I'm just going to say I am a financial advisor, and I would like to make a personal assistant who helps me automate back office tasks. And then it's going to kind of do some of the like instructions that we had just said kind of under the hood automatically, just based on us providing that description. Let's decide on a name for your assistant. How about finance automation assistant? Sure, that sounds great. And then it always wants you to give it a picture, which I guess is kind of fun. But we'll see what it comes up here. That is pretty crazy looking picture. But let's just say, yep, that looks good. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. What specific tasks or types of support do you want the assistant to emphasize or avoid? So I'm going to say I would like the assistant to help me with the following: drafting, communication to clients, researching market trends and news, and then we'll just say parsing and summarizing documents. And then it's going to kind of just continue configuring it under the hood, and then it's going to ask us for the tone. Let's just say it can be friendly. Okay, so now it tells us your assistant is set up. Please try it out and let me know if you need any further refinements. So over here, this is where we have our little assistant. And here is where we have the conversation with the assistant builder, if you will. So this is what is kind of helping us create it. And if you come over here to configure, you can kind of see all the things that it's doing under the hood. So it's, here's the name, the description, here are the instructions that it wrote on its own. Here are the conversation starters, which are these little buttons over here. And then here you can do some other things like upload files. So if you had, for example, some sort of documentation about your firm, or just really anything in general that you want it to be referencing continuously and have in its permanent knowledge base, this is where you would put something like that. And then you also have these things that we kind of discussed before: web browsing, code interpreter, and data analysis. That's what allows the kind of parsing of documents and things like that, creating charts and graphs. And then we also have image generation. I didn't really touch on that, but if you wanted to play around with this to create images, you could do that. So here we have our assistant over here. So it kind of just has these buttons, and it kind of gave us this like research your latest trends on, but it kind of cut it off. So yeah, we could just say research latest trends on stock market performance and create an email newsletter for my clients. And then it's going to kind of just do exactly that. And it's going to break it down. And here we go. We have our information and our email newsletter. So yeah, GPTs are very powerful. There is another thing here called actions. I'm not going to get into those because I think that is a little bit outside of the scope of this course. Essentially, an action from a high level is an action that it can take. So you can actually sync these up with other technologies. So you could set up an action that maybe actually adds this email to your outbox, for example. So you could just have it kind of like automatically do that. Those are some of the services we provide at BMO Automation. We build these out for people all the time. So yeah, this is kind of a super high level overview of GPTs. I would encourage you guys to build one. It's super straightforward because you kind of have this little assistant that walks you through it. And then once you create it, it's there for you to use permanently, and it can be very useful. All right, so the very last thing that I want to talk about, and these are a lot of things that we work on at BMO Automation, is that OpenAI actually provides an API. And what this means is they basically allow developers to access ChatGPT programmatically. So you can access ChatGPT, you can have conversations with it, you can upload data to it and ask it things, not just through their website, but through your own custom software. And they do this by providing what is called an API. So here you can see like a little flow chart, like super basic. You have ChatGPT here, and then you have the OpenAI API, which enables other technology or software or code to communicate with ChatGPT. Again, not through its website, but kind of programmatically through the back door, if you will. And you can integrate it to a lot of other technologies that you use. So for financial advisors, we've done integrations for things like Wealthbox, eMoney, and things like that. So that's another thing to think about. If you are at all curious in investing, in building your own software, or investing in integrating ChatGPT into some of the existing technologies that you use, it is certainly possible. OpenAI provides this API totally for free. They're one of their kind of missions or goals as a company is to enable the world to develop and build products on top of ChatGPT. So I think using ChatGPT on their website is certainly a start. But for me personally, what really excites me is building software on top of it like this, and software that kind of touches the rest of the technology that financial advisors use. So just did want to quickly call that out. And if that's something you find interesting, obviously do not hesitate to reach out. All right, so that concludes this crash course on how to use ChatGPT for a financial advisor. I hope you guys enjoyed this and got at least some things out of it that you will integrate into your daily workflows. The last kind of idea I want to leave you with is just to remember that these technologies are advancing so quickly. They are changing, whether it be ChatGPT or other AI technologies on a daily basis. OpenAI seems to be upgrading the capabilities and features that ChatGPT has on a very rapid pace. So I would encourage you to use this video as a starting point, but absolutely use ChatGPT every day. Follow their announcements, follow the news, and kind of stay up with how these things are evolving because it is happening very quickly. And if you have any questions or anything you ever want to know about AI or ChatGPT in general, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Total nerd about this stuff. I love talking about it. So I hope to hear from some of you all at some point. And best of luck with everything. And thank you.